I have respected this guy's game for as long as I've known CFL football, to be honest with you, because his first year in the Canadian Football League, 2014, Bryan Burnham.
2014,
Yeah.
2014.
And
Yep.
at that point, I was losing a Vanier Cup, so I was still wearing a helmet. But I very quickly started to realize before I got into covering the CFL in 2015, the following year, doing Tiger Cats radio, oh my God, this dude that's out there wearing orange is like one-handed grab here, one-handed grab there. And I started to really respect your game a lot. And then I got to know the guy a little bit from the rare interview. We'd cross paths. I'd read a story about you, all the rest. And so I feel very, very lucky to have you on here with the first edition of the Canadian Football Perspective Wellness podcast because you're a guy, as I said to you just before we turn on the mics, who's a hell of a lot more than just a football player, and I respect the dude that you've been in the CFL as much as anybody around. So thank you for being here, first and foremost.
I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be the first guest
Yeah,
of this
absolutely.
wellness
Well,
podcast,
it was
man.
Lucky Whitehead turned me down, so it was
Of course, of course. That's been happening to me a lot recently.
No, in all seriousness, yeah, you were definitely one of the first guys that I thought of wanting to get you on here, and it's a little bit piggybacking off of the story that JC Abbott and Three Down Nation did, writing about you and your family
Mm,
background and trying to
hmm
become a father. And the reason that it struck a chord with me is that I have a 22-month-old son right now, and the idea of going through what you have to try and reach that point is gut wrenching, to be honest, because the thing I find interesting is there's this journey through football, but there's this journey through life, and all people ever see is you with the helmet and the shoulder pads on and at practice and at games, and then you turn it off and then you go home, and that personal journey for you has had a lot of ups and downs. So for people that
Yeah,
don't know, tell them kind of your journey through trying to become a father and the way that you have handled that with your wife.
yeah. This was a difficult journey, and we're still on that journey.
Right.
But it's kind of crazy. It just honestly, I'll just go back to like 2019.
Of course, yeah.
Um, Honestly, all the years leading up to that, my wife was always up here in BC with me. We were living together, so you know, after practice every day, I was going home to my wife, happy. 2019 was the happiest I had ever been playing the game of football. Um, I was playing well, having a great time with the guys around me, and then going home and spending time with my wife. Life it couldn't have been any better for me. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hits, and there's no football. That was hard. And at the same time, we're in the process of trying to start a family, right? Um, and trying to do that during the pandemic was difficult because all of the doctor's appointments at the beginning I wasn't allowed to go to. I wasn't allowed to be in there. It was only my wife that was allowed to be in there. So I would drive her. The doctor that we chose was actually in Oklahoma City, and we're in Tulsa.
Hmm.
So it's about an hour and a half drive that we were making twice a week. Um, and I would go, I would drop her off. I would sit in the parking lot, and I don't want to embarrass her too much, but the amount of times that she came out crying,
Of course, yeah.
uh, it's so hard. And for me, I gotta be the tough guy. I gotta be the guy that this babe is gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this, uh, and kind of suppressing all those feelings I had. Um, and we went through that for a good year. In vitro fertilization, um, did that 2 or 3 times. The amount of injections she had to take, I was giving her the injections, just taking like 4 shots a day. And nothing was working. And it was just really taxing on her physically, mentally, emotionally. And for me, again, I was suppressing my feelings because I was trying to be her rock. I was trying to be there for her. I was trying to make sure she felt okay. Um, and she did her best to try to do the same for me. But in my mind, I kind of felt alone kind of felt like I didn't have anybody understanding where I was at. Honestly, because I was closed off, I tried to put up that shield, that wall, and like I'm fine, take care of her. But it got to a point where all those doctor's appointments, all the money we spent, nothing worked, and it was the off season leading up to last season. I think it was February, March. She got pregnant, and the same day we found out she got pregnant, we found out that it wasn't viable. She wasn't gonna be able to keep it, and that was really difficult for both of us. Um, and and then I leave, and she's not allowed to come with me because of all the COVID protocols. So it's the
Right.
first season that I'm away from her, and she's at home, kind of dealing with some of this stuff on her own. And then I mentioned it was the Toronto game. The day that we're traveling, she calls me, and I find out that she had a miscarriage. And for me, it's like you gotta feel the emotions real quick, but then you gotta suck it up and go play a football game. I can't sit there and be pouting and look sad around my teammates because that might affect them. So, I'm sucking it up and just gotta go out there and play. You gotta do your
Yeah.
job. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They don't know that. They don't realize that. And they think, I don't know, they think it's easy. They think, oh, we're just playing football. And you've seen the way people talk about athletes online all the time, and people don't realize that we're humans. We have the same emotions as everybody else, and a lot of times we have to suppress that because it's going to affect our game. And it's just hard, and you hear fans just, uh, yeah,
They just
there's
don't
a
know the
game.
difference though,
They just
right?
don't
Like
know exactly.
and it's because you and I honestly I respect you so much for being able to share all of that because there are people that will hear that story that it will add value to struggles that they are going through, right? And there's a lot of you talk about like, oh,
Yeah,
I gotta be the man, and I gotta suppress all that stuff. Like, I guarantee, Brian, there's a ton of dudes listening to this right now, whether it's going through that or alcoholism or they're burying something from their past that they've had to go where they are hearing that and saying, "Oh, dude, like this guy that I've looked up to that's been scoring all these incredible touchdowns for so long, like he goes through the same stuff I do." And that's what I find there. I mean, there's
go through the
a lot
same
of layers
stuff.
to what you're
Yeah,
talking about, but like, if an accountant goes into work or somebody who works at the Wendy's on the corner or whatever, it's like if they go in and they've got terrible things happening in their personal life that are really bothering them, it really doesn't matter. They go in, they work the 9 to 5, they might, not go for lunch and sit in the break room with their
right.
coworkers or whatever. Like you have nowhere to hide.
Yeah,
Like you're on the platform and it's like
right,
go.
right.
You have no
Yeah,
choice, right? And even the idea of you traveling, like I called
yep,
that Toronto BC game that went to overtime last year, and like you had
yep.
an amazing touchdown catch in that game. I remember calling that touchdown
Hmm.
catch, and with the insight of where that timeline fits on the traveling day, that's incredible to me that you were able to, again, whether it's healthy or not, and I'm sure you've done enough understanding of yourself that, oh, yeah, it probably wasn't the healthiest thing for me to try to shut down and block things out, but you don't have a choice. You're under contract
Yeah,
and you got to go play a game. And I find that to be such an
right.
incredible challenge for people that are at your level.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's just, I'm not a rarity. You hear about it all the time. There's guys in the NFL. There's a guy. God, I'm blanking on his name. He was a receiver for Tampa Bay, and he had lost. Him and his wife had lost a baby, and he went out and scored a touchdown that very next game. And you hear people. Brett Favre, after he lost his dad, went out there and just had the game of his life. And a lot of times, you for me, that Toronto game, you take all of those emotions and you try to use it. You take it and you try to use it as fuel to push you forward. When I'm tired, I just think about all the bad shit,
Yeah.
and that kind of fuels me to push through it. Um, yeah, it's honestly hard to explain, but yeah, I mean, because you just have to, because the opponent doesn't care. The opponent doesn't care if you're not feeling good, if you're sad, if you're, they're gonna take that weakness and they're gonna expose it. So I have to use that emotion to almost enrage me, to fuel that anger, just to make it through. And then after the game, it just all falls apart. You held it together for as long as you could, and after the game, it just falls apart. And that's where having great guys, having a Mike Riley, made a huge difference, because I was the one guy I felt like, you know what, I need to tell somebody. I gotta tell somebody about what's going on in my life. I can't hold on to this anymore. And I sat down and had to talk with him about it. And that made me feel a little bit better, just having that person.
Well, that's
Mike.
an interesting point to me, Bryan, because like having the vulnerability to be able to share, when you say like, oh, that made me feel a little bit better, it's because there's a sense of community
Mm-hmm.
there, right? And it's a sense of
Right,
understanding.
for sure.
And
For
without
sure.
that sense of community, you feel like you are nameless, faceless, emotionless. I go in, I do the job, I leave, I go home, and your reward system
Mm-hmm.
is not anywhere close to feeling like a human. So when I hear you say like, oh, I talked to Mike Riley and we were able to sit down and he kind of heard me out. I guarantee you left that room feeling the best that you had in a year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because that exactly, because it was that, from the day we starting the process of trying to start a family to that day, I hadn't talked to anybody about it, and I had suppressed those emotions, those feelings, that anger for a whole year. And it got to the point where it was just like, I just can't hold on to it anymore. I just can't. It's going to start I mean, it had already started to affect me physically, mentally. Even though I thought I was burying it, even though I thought I wasn't thinking about it, it was in the back of my mind. It was there, So it was definitely affecting the way I was playing. It was affecting the way I was approaching each day. It was affecting the way I was acting around guys. And man, that's a special thing about this room, about the group, the team that we have this year, especially the receiving core. Um, they know when something's up. Um, I lost a very close family friend during training camp. Her name is Liz Plum, and she is the absolute nicest person in the world. And when I heard that she had passed, I just felt like I couldn't go that day. And when I get into the locker room, guys knew immediately, like, Burnham, like, what's up? What's going on? And being able to talk to those guys and not hold on to that, it just made that process a lot easier for me. So this group, having the right people around you, man, it makes such a difference. Um, so yeah, that's what's special about this group, and it's kind of what I've learned going through the pain that I've gone through, is that you can't hold on to it. You have to go through the emotions. You have to allow yourself to grieve, to be sad, to be able to move on, or else it's gonna hold you back. And that's what it did. It did that to me last year. Honestly, it held me back a little bit, not just on the field, but just in life. I wasn't the same person I was. I wasn't laughing all the time. I love to laugh. It's not hard to make me laugh. And last year I wasn't doing much laughing. Uh, yeah.
Do you feel like because you are one of the leaders of that locker room, I know that from, just a sports perspective, like guys respect you, they know it, you're tenured, you've been around, you understand how the league works, you're working with some of the younger guys to try and up their game and all the rest, but you are respected and then you become the one who opens up and is vulnerable to your teammates. And I think there's so much power in the guy who's the veteran, who's the old head, who's the, still making plays and all the rest, but to be the player who everyone looks at as the on-field performer when they're the one who's being vulnerable and setting the culture of the locker room of, hey, you got a problem? Come in and talk. Like that's a whole different level of building culture inside of a room, because it's very rare that at the top of your talent in an organization, you also have the one who's saying, hey, it's okay to address these things.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said, I think that is important. Um, like you said, being the leader, being the guy who's been here for 8, 9 years, the one that guys look up to, the guys look to set the example uh, for me to open up and be vulnerable. I agree with you. I think it's important. I think it's important for leaders to make the locker room a place where we could talk about whatever. We don't got to be tough around each other. We all know we're tough. We go out there and play. We see each other every day out there on the field. We know we're tough. Man, we could talk about life. We could talk about what's going on. And I think that's what's special about this team, and that's why we're good right now. That's why we're 5-1. That's why you see the receiving core just having fun out there doing the dances and just making plays, having fun because we're close off the field. Always talking about, you know, the way we were raised, the things in our lives that have affected us, the things we're going through right now. We're cool talking about that stuff. And like you said, it is important because when you hold on to it, it is going to negatively affect you. And I know from experience. Um, but sometimes you don't always have the guys around you that you feel comfortable to talk to.
Right.
So like you said, for me being the leader, to let guys know this it's cool. It's cool to talk about this stuff. I think it's important. It is very important. And man, it's I think it's been, I am the leader, but at the same time, um, I think we just have a group of leaders.
Mm.
Speaking of just the receiving core, I think, and that's my leadership style is to allow everybody to lead. Everybody needs an opportunity to lead. If somebody has something to say it. I don't care if you've played one game, 0 games. Somebody has something to say it. Um, so that's just kind of my approach. I'm not gonna sit there and talk down to anybody. I'm not gonna say you can't speak because you haven't done this or you haven't been here long enough. No, this is my room, the receiver's room. It's a place where whatever's on your mind, let's talk about it. And that's really helped me. It's been great. Just, when you're going through things, air it out.
Yeah.
Let it be known because these guys in this room, they want to help, man. We love each other. And it's important. And that's one thing with Coach Rick Campbell, man. He's been awesome with mental health, mental wellness. Um, we have a team psychologist who comes in and talks to us, and it's important because I mean, at the end of the day, you have to have your head on straight if you want to go out there and you want to succeed.
Hmm.
But at the same time, Rick sees us as more than football players. We're people, we're humans, and he cares about us past the football field. And I think that's really important. And that's how I feel about these guys in this room. That life is so much bigger than football. Football has brought us all together, but I really care about these guys past football. I care about what happens to them when they're done playing. I care about what's going on with their families. Because at the end of the day, that's what's important. If football ended today, I have my family, I have my health, um, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so well said, man. And it's honestly, I think there's so many people listening to this who will hear the workplace environment that's been created by Rick and guys like yourself and the leadership structure and all the rest and be like, man, why can't we have that? Right? Like there's a lot of people in a lot of different lines of work that are like, damn, I would love to be in a workplace like that because I don't have that. I don't feel
Yeah,
that. But that takes time to build trust and to understand people so that you can be
yeah,
vulnerable. Like you say, you're not going to walk into the room the first day and there's a rookie that's from Oklahoma who's there who wants to take your job and be like, hey man, like I got a family friend who passed away and it's like it doesn't hit home. He's like, dude, what are you doing?
right,
Why are you talking to me like this? Right?
right.
Um,
Why I
but
don't even know you. Yeah,
but you guys have been
yeah.
able to cultivate a lot of that, and that's an amazing thing. Where do you and your wife stand at this point in your journey to accomplish?
So we are still trying to have kids. We're not doing the IVF and all that stuff.
Hmm.
We're just naturally trying to have them, and if it happens, it happens. But we actually we have a foster son. We we met him February 15th, this past off season, and it's been, I mean, it's hard to explain just the happiness that I've felt since that day that we got him. Um, this time last year, I was at my lowest, and this time, and right now, I don't know if I've ever been this happy. You know,
Wow.
it's crazy. And I was so nervous because I just, as a man, I don't know. I just thought, am I going to be able to love this little kid as much as I would my own?
Mm.
And I was afraid. And the second I saw him, it was just like, oh,
It's
I
gone,
love this
right?
little dude.
And
I love
honestly,
this little dude. Yeah.
honestly, man, I would say as somebody, like I said, who has my own child, like th it's the exact same thing. Like there's no difference between that fear of, am I gonna be able to do that? Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like
Yeah.
are they gonna love me? Are they gonna
Right.
be able to figure out like how are they gonna connect with me? Can we maintain that connection
Right.
as they grow up? Are the conversations gonna become more difficult because you're gonna have to, and it's, yes, there is an added layer. I'm not minimizing what you've gone through and having to do it a different way, but it's the idea that like I've gone through the same fear. I've gone through the same tension in my mind and
Mm-hmm.
that inner voice just churning and asking myself all these questions. And then, but then the thing is, like, you see them, and any day that you see them
Yeah.
and they do something dumb or fun or whatever, it's like none of that matters. Like it's all gone.
None of it.
I saw a great quote the other
Yeah.
day that said, like kids don't care what car you drive, how big your house is, like how much money you make.
Yeah.
They don't care where you live. They care that you spend time with them, and
Yeah.
they spell love Time. It's like that's it. Like time is
Yeah.
love, right?
That's awesome.
And so
I like that.
that's kind
Yeah.
of a cool way to look at your journey is like the more time that you've had where you've been in pain and trying to find solutions for this, the more time you've had to be able to dive in and appreciate the fact that there's a lot of different ways
Right.
to be a parent, right?
Right. For sure. For sure. And it's just been amazing. My wife has been, man, she's been a rock star. She's awesome. I mean, she's been through so much just herself in her life. And then to go through finding out that she's not gonna be able to have kids,
Right.
most likely. Um, and then doing it by herself while I'm up here playing football.
Yeah.
Man, um, she's awesome. She's so I just can't. She is great. She is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You are in
Um,
awe is what I'm getting.
yes, yes. I'm not worthy.
Well, I think
uh,
I did read a thing not long ago on the concept of awe and the fact that being inspired by something that is significantly larger than us can take on many forms, whether that's family, religion, spirituality, nature,
hmm
whatever that might be. And yeah, hearing you describe that is you're in awe, and that gives you a great amount of appreciation because you're just like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Bryan. Thank you for being a part of this and telling your story. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy being able to hear your journey through. And I got to admit, it made me smile the second that you started talking about
Hmm.
your foster child because your face completely changed here on the Zoom, just blew up and was a whole lot of fun. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. And
uh,
by the way, how did you puncture a lung and break ribs on a little crossing road? It didn't even look bad. What the hell
so
happened?
everyone says it didn't even look bad. It was just like the perfect storm of me.
Uh,
I was going up the field to catch the ball. He was coming down at the perfect time, and just, God, it's crazy, man. I've
well,
been asking myself the same thing.
I'm glad that you're getting back healthy, and I'm glad we're going to see you back on the field
Appreciate
again
it.
soon, man. So thank you for
Yeah, I can't
everything, and
wait.
looking forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, man. Sounds good. And it's a pleasure to be on, man. Definitely would love to come back on again at some point.